Hi, and welcome to the Healing Journey. My name is Chanin. I am a licensed massage therapist, a clinical herbalist, a master teacher Reiki practitioner, and a certified cryotherapist. Today, I really want to talk about herbalism and what it really is and how it really works. Because there's a lot of information out on the internet and on social media talking about these books you can buy and these herbs you can buy and these supplements you can buy and all this stuff. And it's a little overwhelming. And it gives pieces of the information and pieces of what herbalism is, but it doesn't really tell you what herbalism is. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Because herbalism is more than just taking a supplement. It's more than just taking an herb. It's more than just getting a book and seeing about herbs. There's a lot more that goes into it. And that's kind of where I want to go with that. So what is herbalism? Before I go any further, I want to say that this video, this podcast, this session is for educational purposes only. I am not a doctor. I am a clinical herbalist, but I am not a doctor. I do not diagnose, prescribe, or give any kind of medical advice in that kind of way. I do work with Western and Eastern medicine practitioners to help people that already have a diagnosis. So anything I talk about today is purely educational. It is for you to be better informed and to make better decisions on what you want to do with your health. It is not telling you to do anything, but giving you more information about what herbalism truly is. So, based on the dictionary, herbalism is the practice of using herbs and herbal remedies to help maintain health and prevent illness. As an English professor, I hate when definitions use the word within the definition because it's vague. It tells you nothing. Herbalism is the practice of using herbs. Yeah, we kind of already got that from the word herbalism, but what is it? There really is a whole lot to talk about in terms of herbalism, so this will not be an all-encompassing session, but it'll at least get you some Herb 101 kind of things going on. I've been studying and practicing herbalism for about 30 years. I started taking classes when my son was a year old. He's 30 now. So yeah, we've been doing this a while. And even now, I am still learning because things change, new information comes out, new ways of doing things, new ways of looking at things, very much looked at it one way 30 years ago than how I look at it now. And that's all well and good, but we also have to remember that herbs are plants. They can help us in so many ways, but they can help us in more than one way. So that's kind of where we're going to sit. This is something that is constantly growing and changing, and even though the herbs are still doing the same thing, many of us that have been in herbalism for a long time have learned that we can use them in many different ways, not just one way. So, kind of like, I'll say it now and I'll say it again, herbalism is not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. Herbalism is a way of healing ourselves when we feel less than well. It's something we can do even when we don't have to go to the doctors. Say we have a sunburn. How many of you put aloe on after you get sunburned? That's herbalism. Bug bites. How many of you put, well, I know after bug bites, I'll put St. John's wort infused oil because it stops the itch. That's herbalism. How many of you take Senecot or something with senna in it when you have constipation? Well, senna is an herb. So a lot of that is herbalism. How many of you take echinacea when you feel a cold or fever coming on? Herbalism. Something with echinacea. There's an herb in that. Now, does that mean that those medicines are herbalism? Not necessarily. They probably have some herbs in them, but that's not herbalism. but you already are starting to see how herbs are coming into things, and we are seeing it become more front and center. Straight herbs, where you use the whole plant and you use it, just the herb with no chemicals and no other medications with them, are extremely potent and can help you so many different ways. So beyond going beyond the sunburn or the bug bites, herbs can actually help us keep our organs running more efficiently and more effectively, so that we have better health, that we can assimilate nutrients better, so that we can feel better just by having them in our teas or in pills or however we use them. They maintain our organ systems for health. And fixing the symptom is great. It makes us feel like we can go on, but it's just fixing the symptom. It's not necessarily fixing the problem. And that's where herbalism tends to move in. Well, let me back up here. In modern days now, that's the direction herbalism is moving more towards the vitalist or holistic view rather than the allopathic view. So let's take a minute and talk about those two words, allopathic and vitalist or holistic. An allopathic view is a symptom-based view. It's looking at the symptom and saying, oh, you have a fever, we got to take care of the fever, and getting rid of the fever. That's allopathic, getting rid of the sunburn, getting rid of the bug bite, putting a Band-Aid on a cut. That's allopathic. It's focusing on the symptom and alleviating the symptom so that you can move on to feeling better. Allopathic doesn't tend to really work deep. It's fix the symptom, make you feel better. Fix the symptom, it'll make you feel better. When we're looking at the holistic, or what I call vitalist, and many of us call it vitalist, I am not the one who coined it, so don't quote me on that. But a vitalist herbalist view is we're looking deeper. We want to know why that symptom is happening. A lot of times it could be the gut. Sometimes it could be inflammation. Sometimes it could be constipation, which is a symptom, but it can cause other things. So maybe it's an intestinal thing or a bowel thing. So herbalism or vitalist, especially vitalist herbalists, are looking deeper. They're not just looking at their symptoms. They're taking the symptoms and saying, now, what else is going on? What else is going on? Sometimes the doctors diagnose the person with something, and sometimes, while we cannot diagnose them, we can kind of get an idea of what organ is causing the problems. And we can say, let's work on clearing that organ system up. We're still not diagnosing, but we are clearing up an organ system to help the body work more efficiently and effectively, which ultimately will make the symptoms go away. So that's the difference between allopathic, symptom-based, and vitalist, root cause-based, or the reasoning behind the symptoms based. So many, many years ago, like before the 1900s, I know that was a long time ago, 1900s, but when there was manors and there was villages and everything, there was always herbalists around. It was usually the woman of the house. In my house, it was me, because I was the weird one. So my poor kids had to deal with this all their lives. They were not always happy about it. But like I said, I never diagnosed. I never prescribed. I would take my kids to the doctors and we'd have the conversation with the doctors, and then I would bring them home and do what I knew was going to work based on what the doctor told me. I still to this day do not prescribe. I still to this day do not diagnose. I listen to my clients and they tell me what the doctor's telling them. Sometimes I actually get to talk to the doctors if they're willing to work with me. And then we go from there. So that's how herbalism is working now. That's how it's starting to work more and more in this time frame, because more and more doctors are saying, yeah, let's try this. They're willing to work with herbalists. A lot of naturopaths will work with the herbalists. A lot of functional doctors will work with herbalists. And some regular doctors, some Western trained regular doctors, MDs, will work with us. So this is the way of the future.
Think you've seen it all? Danny Gurry keeps finding Frederick's hidden gems. Family spots, mom and pops, and can't miss bites. Good Morning Frederick. Make sure to watch live at 9 a.m. every weekday on Facebook and YouTube.
What makes for a perfect custom engagement ring? Truly understanding the elements that make a ring that's perfect for you. Custom by Colonial. The Colonial Jewelers box. There's just more in it.
There's a lot of different ways when it comes to recommending herbs or using herbs that we can use. A lot of us think, oh, supplements, let's go get the supplements. We can buy them at the health food store. We can buy them at the grocery store. They're just little pills. We can buy them off Amazon now. They work, but they're very generic. They are for everyone. They are across the board. They don't take you as an individual into consideration. Along with the vitalist view of things, we look at things like your constitution. Are you hot? Are you cold? Are you moist? Are you dry? Are you tense or are you relaxed? So we look at all these different things, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, and we create formulas for you. So yes, supplements can work, but they are not, I don't want to say pure or true herbalism, but they're very generic. If you want something that's created just for you, you got to work with an herbalist, a clinical herbalist. And you got to make sure the people are certified. Please make sure they've been through some kind of school. And I'll tell you why in a few minutes, but it's really, really important. So there are specific kinds of remedies, and these are based on some of the reasons why you're not feeling well. And so when we're talking to the person, they're telling us they don't feel good. This is what's happening. This is their diagnosis. There are internal uses of herbs and there are external uses of herbs. And then there are breathing of herbs. So you got 3 different ways of getting this herbal remedy going. Internally, we use infusions, decoctions, and tinctures mainly, some spagyrics. Infusions are like teas. They use the leaf and the flowers, and you heat it, warm water, and you steep it, and you drink it. That's one way. You got decoctions. This is also a type of tea, but it uses the harder substances, like if you use bark, like cinnamon bark, or if you're using a really hard root, then you're going to use a decoction because the way it's made is made for those harder substances. And again, you drink it like a tea. Tinctures. Most of us have seen tinctures or have tried them before, and it can be made with alcohol, vinegar, glycerin. So there's lots of options, and you just put a couple drops in every so often, and you're good to go. But again, these are all internal. Not everything needs to be internal. For example, St. John's wort. In many cases, if certain medications are being taken, you should not take St. John's wort internally, but you could use it externally all you want. It will not interact with your medications. But things like poultices, fomentations, compresses, infused oils, ointments, salves, all these kind of things are external. Infused oils are one of my favorite things. It's literally taking the dried herb or fresh herb, putting it with a carrier oil. Where I work, we mix it with avocado oil and olive oil, and we cook it for about a week and a half, depending on the herb and depending on what we're trying to do with it. And then we press out the herbs, and we have this beautiful infused oil that smells beautiful, and it does wonderful. Fomentations are when we take herbs and either decoction or infusion, but we put, and poultices too, we put fabric in it, and then we put the fabric on the person over that spot, or if it's a burn, we put it on the burn. But they're external, and each one is a little different. Compresses are the same thing. but these are all topical presentations and topical uses that you don't have to take internally. If you took them internally, for the most part, depending on the herb, you should be fine, but you really don't need to. Not everything has to be taken internally. Sometimes putting it on the skin is perfect. There's also steam inhalation, which you can do by putting the herbs in hot water and putting a towel over your head after they've started boiling. Turn the stove off, but put a towel over your head and the bowl and just sit there and breathe it in. Another way to do this is a tea bath, and you can get really big tea bags, put the herbs in that, put it in the bathtub, and just steep in the bathtub while it's making tea. Don't drink it, but you get the inhalation of the herbs that way. So there's, like I said, internally, topically, and then inhalation. These are all ways that we use herbs to help people feel better and get to those organ systems and help them heal so the symptoms go away. As I said, herbalism is not a one-size-fits-all thing. Yes, you can take supplements that are made generically that everybody can take and they'll be safe. Perfectly fine. But if you want something that's just for you, that's focused on just your needs, you have to see a clinical or a master herbalist. Not only do they understand what you need, they will also be able to look at the medications you're on and know the herbs you can't take. So that means that if, say that you want to take a supplement, do you know if it interacts with your medications? This is something a master or clinical herbalist would know. They'd be able to say, hey, that doesn't work with that, so we can't use that herb. We have to use something that's similar but doesn't interact. This is how these formulas get created for people individually and why they tend to work better than when you get a supplement. Now, I'm not saying supplements don't work. They can. And they are really great if that's what you have available. But if you can, get to a clinical herbalist, see what they can offer you, because sometimes that's a better option. The very first time you meet with your herbalist, it will probably be a 90-minute to 2-hour session, because they are going to talk to you about everything. They're not going to leave any stone unturned. And then they are going to have to take time to figure out exactly what works best for you. So it's not like you're going to go in, talk to them for 15 minutes like you do a doctor and go home with a prescription. It doesn't work that way. You're going to talk to them for about 90 minutes to 2 hours, and then you'll have to come back for your formula because they have to figure it out. They want to make sure it's right just for you and all of the parts are right. For me, it takes me, depending on everything. If somebody's not on medication and it's a pretty straightforward thing, I can have their formulas ready for them next day. If they have lots of different medications and lots of different issues and we focus on one issue, but we also want to touch on other ones, it's going to take me about probably 3 or 4 days to pull something together that works well for them. So, it's not like going to the doctor. It's definitely a lot more individualized, and it really is working to create something that's just for you. So again, master herbalists are a great option after diagnosis and before or even with medications. You don't want to go to them before you go to the doctor and get a diagnosis, because any good herbalist is going to say, I need a diagnosis first. They're not going to treat you. They shouldn't treat you until after they know what's wrong, or you know what's wrong and you can tell them. They cannot prescribe, they cannot diagnose. They can give you options of what herbs can help you. They can make formulas that can help you. It's up to you if you take them or not. And remember, herbs are not a cure-all. They do really good work and they do really incredible things, but they are not an end-all, cure-all kind of thing. Just like any medications, they do what they can for the body, but you also have to do things like possible lifestyle changes or diet changes or, exercise. Some of us really hate that. But yet we have to do it if we want the herbs or any medications to work. We have to sometimes change our lifestyle. And this is what people, and they're definitely a slower working thing. It's not like you're going to go home, drink a tea, and everything's going to be fixed like you would if you took a medication. They don't work that way. They build up. They're slow burn kind of thing. But they do work extremely well, and they do have incredible results. So really, the whole thing about this is herbalism is safe, but you have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what to look for. And you can take back control of your medical life and your health, but you have to do it intelligently. You can't just buy a book and think this is going to work, or you can't just buy a supplement and think this is perfect. Do your research. Talk to a clinical or master herbalist. Ask them about their education. Be smart about things, because just because it's all natural doesn't mean it's good for you. You need to, there are still times when things don't mesh. So that's pretty much it about herbalism. As always, if this episode made you think about how you can incorporate herbs, or want to learn more about how to incorporate herbs into your life, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, ask questions. We'll do other videos on it. We'd love to talk about this. It's one of my favorite things. If you're ever in I don't even say if you're ever in the area, if you would like to have an herbal consultation, please call us at 240-394-6046. We do online and in-person herbal consultations. You don't have to be here in person. We can mail the herbs to you when we get them done. But feel free to call for a consultation. We set up 15-minute consultations to see if this is a good fit. And then the first session is a 90-minute session. So again, feel free to call for a consultation at 240-394-6046. Until next time, take care of yourself. Use herbs intelligently with the help of a master or clinical herbalist, and be safe. Bye.